Hi, everyone. Welcome to What Just Happened, filming at the New York Stock Exchange. Today, I have Sriram Iyengar from PUBLICIS Sapient. Welcome, Sriram.
Thank you, Christine.
It's so great to have you here. PUBLICIS has new technology called Sapient Sustain. Okay, so before we get into that, let's understand why and how PUBLICIS Sapient is launching technology and how this third leg of the stool fits in.
Good question. We've always been a company that has helped our clients adapt technology. We help people thrive in the brave pursuit of next. That's always been our position. So whether it was in the earlier days of internet or later when it came to digital adoption, we were always jumping in head first, try and help our customers make sense of the new technologies that were coming in. As Gen AI came in, we realized that the world needs the help to be able to adapt that, whether it is looking at legacy modernization or pure business transformation or agentic business transformation. And that's when we also realized that, hey, there is one more area that we can always impact, which is managed services or support work or IT operations work, which is where Sustain comes into picture. For business transformation, we have, as you talked about the third leg of the stool, the first leg is Bodhi, which helps us look at agentic business transformation. Technology development and AI-driven technology transformation is where we have Sapient Slingshot, which is the second leg of the stool, if you may call it. And the third is, as you do business transformation, as you do technology changes from grounds up, how do you manage and maintain that and run the operations, which is now built on AI, which is where Sustain comes into picture.
And so in terms of having it be a self-correcting service where it's correcting IT tickets, the maybe low to middle level issues that normally would be put in a queue and dealt with on a latent timeline.
Yes.
What brought about needing this change?
There is a good industry term in the world of IT operations called watermelon effect, which is basically you see and talk about your SLAs or service level agreements. You meet those. They are all green, but business in general is unhappy, saying IT is doing its job, but we are not meeting our objectives of being agile, being able to change at will, being able to meet our customer expectations. And there has always been this rift between what business expects versus what from an operations standpoint or production operations. And that's where the need for self-healing and self-correcting workflows comes into picture, which is what will help us get to a point where we can meet those experiences. So even when Sapient Sustain was designed, it was not just designed to meet or look at the IT operations as a landscape, but also look at the experiences of the stakeholders, whether it is business or end user. And we don't necessarily measure ourselves by the SLAs, but we measure ourselves by what kind of experience changes or experience enhancements we can offer to our end users.
Are you saying, here's the solution, we'll help you deploy it, and now you have tools in which to meet the objectives on an ongoing basis?
It's a continuum, right? So different organizations are at different level of maturity. So depending on where they are, we meet them at that level of maturity and help them move to a point where we can bring in these capabilities. We can create the self-healing workflows for them and thereby be able to elevate their overall experiences, if you will.
Let's talk about PUBLICIS Sapient and the brand positioning.
Sure.
Okay. So from what I can see, it's positioning itself. There's a change in language to a technology company.
The idea was that if you could build something that would enable to supercharge our people to be able to drive better outcomes for our customers, that would be better than depending on just set of solutions that were being brought together. That's what brought us up into investing effort towards building some of this on our own and roll it out to the market. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to another colleague of mine. We've been vindicated in this approach where we see larger product companies or AI companies who are tying up with services organizations to roll out their products to become a product plus people. We've always become a people plus product company. We were always that way.
I was going to ask you that because that's also out in terms of your branding statement. It's people plus product. But this is a shift because now it's tech versus services, or the balance is shifting. What did that do to the internal organization?
We've invested massively in building these products grounds up, understanding the needs of the market as we see it, built on about 30 years of our experience working with our clients, looking at their journeys on technology, maturity, and transformation. So we've used that to be able to build this product. We trained our people. We continue to train them. And then within the teams, we have people trained specifically so that they can go and deploy this product and help adoption of that product in our customer organizations.
Let's talk about how the three products currently available interact with each other, and let's also identify if more is coming down the pike. So first start with the three.
The three products basically are designed from three perspectives. First one is to look at business transformation. If you're looking to build use cases for any business activities, which is where Bodhi comes into picture. I'll give you examples. For a trader, they deal with a lot of information. How do you synthesize all of this information and make most relevant possible decisions or next best actions? Rather than depending on just the expertise of the trader, bringing all of this information almost on a fingertip is where a product like Bodhi would come into picture. Another scenario where we are deploying it for a leading healthcare company a pharmaceutical company, where we are trying to actually bring in content operations to ensure that all of the content that gets generated is compliant to various norms. It is suitable for different segments that they are offering, and being able to morph that content or build that content suitable to different personalized use cases. We are able to do that at scale using a product like Bodhi. So long story short, Bodhi is something designed towards agentic business transformation for our customers. Then comes in Slingshot or Sapient Slingshot, which has been designed towards tech modernization and adoption of Agentic AI in the development lifecycle. So whether you're looking at modernizing old tech like COBOL, or you're looking at charging the existing development processes and using it to be able to deliver better outcomes, that's where Slingshot comes into picture. And as these two products work towards business transformation and technology transformation, as that technology gets into production and you have to manage day-to-day affairs using that, that's when Sustain comes into picture. So it looks at the IT operations and manages and supports the IT operations to become self-help and self-heal based. What we have done in Sustain is we've looked at tasks that usually was done, and we've brought in agents to be able to do task-based automation, or we take over those tasks. We are looking at processes that needs to change, and we have brought in workbenches, which is a combination of agents and capabilities or skills that will eventually be able to take over process level automations and bringing in AI intervention in that space. So that's how these three are structured. Interestingly enough, all three of them, we also have a concept of connecting them underneath with a common layer of knowledge, or knowledge graph or context. We call it enterprise context graph, which helps us to be able to connect them to ensure that what business is wanting to deploy, and when that gets deployed using a platform like, say, a Slingshot, and that gets maintained by Sapient Sustain, they retain the same context, and then you are not working in your own silos.
I was just going to ask you about the layer underneath producing this information. So that must have been your own digital transformation, because there's no way all of this was harnessed or together, because you're talking about years back. So now the market gives an opportunity. You're a customer of the AI factory.
That is where we differentiate ourselves, because the reality is that you are seeing organizations talk about AI pilots. And there are multiple studies, McKinsey studies or what have you, that talk about the fact that not all AI pilots go into production. The reason is that because the context of the organization or the enterprise, when it goes at the enterprise grade, you might want to build a small piece of code and deploy it. In that cocoon, it works. But when it has to connect to 10 different systems, what it is going to touch, how is it going to interact, and what is going to break or what is going to enhance? If you don't have the visibility of that, we'll never be able to connect. These two independent AI projects are not going to succeed by themselves or connect by themselves.
So let's talk about the digital transformation. What year did it start? And was it really more in earnest once these tools have become available to have non-siloed data?
Well, that's a very good question. As a matter of fact, we've been in the services space helping our customers adopt technology in the brave pursuit of next all the time. So over the years, like the past 30 years plus of working with our clients, we built a lot of knowledge on how product development should happen, how scaling should happen. And all of that was available in our inner repository for us to be able to use for our customers. And that's what used to differentiate Sapient engineers vis-a-vis everybody else in the market. There was an announcement from our group head, right? We are part of Publicis Group. So Publicis Group had made a formal announcement of investing in products way back in 2023-24, where we had formally announced investment in building products that will help us transform and look at better adoption of AI. So that's when all of these assets and the best practices that we had started morphing into becoming products, which we could then start scaling. As we built these products and started rolling them out, we also realized the need to connect them with the underneath layer that we are talking about. So that's how it has evolved actually over time.
So it's that exact timeline. So you had dual mandates. You had one, develop the product, and then two, a whole different set of people connecting the data so the product could run. And it sounds like they both were happening at the same time, or maybe the connection maybe had a little bit of a head start in order to be able.
It's our secret sauce that we've been using as a differentiator always. So that's what now is open that we can actually help enterprise adapt that at a very different level. As a part of these three products, that layer comes automatically and we are able to help them.
You became your own client.
You
evolved in a way that you normally would help a client,
Sure.
which is really critical as a go-forward strategy. I would love to talk about the strategy and the process and some of the solutions that were involved in harnessing the data or organizing the data. Did you do a giant migration, or are you added a context layer to be able to get to everything? Are you able to speak to that?
It's an evolving process. That technology is still not completely stabilized or settled as we speak, but we've looked at what the industry best practices are, looked at multiple such products to help build the context layer, and we've been able to compact that and extract that information, build that knowledge or context graph layer, and then we'll be able to sit on top of it and connect them.
I think what's great from that for the listeners is that, first of all, everything's evolving. So don't wait.
That's right.
And if in fact you do deploy, you've got to make best decisions at that moment in time and be able to build and change going forward.
That's true.
So that it's constantly evolving. I think in many cases with this rapid change that's going on, companies, including enterprises, will wait, let's see, because, there's new product out now. There's all these new companies out now. And why do we need to do that?
AI at the end of the day runs on data, right? And as I said, it all runs on understanding the intent of what you want to do. And if that layer itself is not clean, then how much ever you want to put all your MCPs on top of it, it's not going to give you the result that you want.
Let's talk about the product, which is a new product, Sapeint, Sapeint, through a commerce lens.
Sure.
You've deployed it.
Yes.
And one of the recently announced customers is Joe and the Juice, and I cover commerce. So let's get into how and why and how is it going. So first start with why did they need it and how it came about.
So as if you covered Joe and Juice, you would have realized that they are a health food company that they are looking to grow. They have a smaller presence in the US, but they are massively present in Europe, and they are looking to grow massively over time. So their ability to be able to scale is contingent on the fact that the technology underneath and giving the assurance of operations assurance of whether you're looking at your POS systems or retail stores to be operating with a certain level of assurance has to come. When we started partnering with Joe and Juice, the intent was to be able to help them scale using AI so that their operations are being maintained while they can concentrate on expanding their business. We can help them with the underlying technology that will help them scale as they grow in their footprint globally, as well as in terms of the scale of their operations.
Okay, so they sit in a room, they do an SOW, and one of their W's was that they have a lot of tickets and it's holding them back. So the opportunity became, how can we fix this? And automating it and having a technology like Sapeint that self-corrects. It actually flags when mistakes are even made, right? It just keeps moving.
That's correct. So the way you should look at it is, and I'll give you another example, right? So what we're intending to do is, even if you look at your order value, you have your daily sales. Now, if you're looking at your digital business on a day-to-day basis, and if your day-to-day order volumes are going down or changing, are there any systems underneath which is causing the order value to go down or to spike up, and it is not a real month order coming in, but the spike is because of some systems misfiring? You should be able to identify that and proactively create those corrections so that you can look at your revenue assurance as well. What we do is we look at the past history of data that you said, there are a lot of tickets that they have. We analyze that and figure out what are the things that can be automated or which can be put in as automations, and Sapeint Sustain helps deploy those automations and get to a proactive level of support.
You said they want to grow internationally.
That's right.
First of all, in the US, you have 3 time zones. And then, of course, you have global time zones. And it's a 24/7 resource. Whereas before, it was given to people, offshore, onshore, combination, a mixture, different ways to address it. Well, how does that ratio work now? You deploy, or I don't know if you have this information yet, but you deploy an automatic sustain, and then you need to have human in the loop. Or
The day we start, day zero, you are completely people based. But as we bring in Sapient Sustain in the platform, deploy that. While we do that, we identify the bunch of use cases that can actually go towards automation and thereby start deploying them with the highest value use case leading the front, and then additional use cases keep deploying. As we do that, we are able to shift the operations, addressing the operations more towards AI first, and then with human in the loop, and then eventually there is only some portion of work that eventually will require human to completely focus on. What it does that is, in this process, the humans to be able to look at higher value tasks and be able to look at further enhancements or capabilities rather than getting bogged down on day-to-day repetitive issues that we generally would end up looking at solving tickets day in, day out. We could get away from that. We've seen in one customer, we've already adopted about 30% of issues are directly addressed by AI. About 40% of the other issues are addressed by AI first, and then with a human in the loop for the judgment and things. And today, as we speak, there are about 35% of the issues that are being addressed by humans. This is a 8-month journey with them. But as we expect, as over time, we expect it to go towards almost 75 to 80% or up to 85% of tasks should be addressed by AI first, and 20% tasks would have to go to a human for analysis or identification.
can you help me visualize where it sits in the tech stack? Is it linked to the pause? Is it running through the pause system, or is it like, where is it? How is it operating in physical retail?
Very, very good question. So all your POS systems, or whether for that matter, digital systems which you take, all of these do have underlying monitoring or an observability layer that organizations have invested in or investing as we speak. Sapient Sustain sits on top of this observability layer, connects these systems, looks at how are they connected, how each one is impacting the other, and then starts looking at where the interventions can be brought in. And then as it identifies the issues, it looks at what solutions are available and starts recommending them, what agents are available that can take autonomous actions over time. Initially, it will start with human in the loop for validation and approval, but over time, it will become autonomous actions as confidence of those actions improves with the human in control. It's always human in the control till we are sure that the AI is doing its job as expected and not hallucinating. And that's how it sits. So it sits on top of the observability layer. It orchestrates all of these and then connects with any of your ITSM layers, the IT service management layers, which becomes the source of truth for any action even that system has taken, so that tomorrow, if you want to see what the system did for a particular intervention, then the record is always available for you to audit and figure out if the system did right or not, or what enhancements are needed to be done. One area that I definitely want to talk to you about is, especially we're talking about commerce, agentic commerce is coming its way.
Let's go. What?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So with agentic commerce, one thing that we realize specifically is that today, if there is, I'll give you a simple example. If there is a price mismatch and a promotion has ended, but the promotion price still is on the site, right? People may go and place in an order, but it's humans going and placing an order. Tomorrow, when agents operate in this space, when agents are going to place an order, just imagine at the scale at which they can place the order. And then it's up to the organization to actually recognize those orders and then take a substantial margin shave off, or not attend it and take a reputation shave off. Right.
How do you know that just happened to me 2 days ago? How do you know this? I placed an order, sale price, got an email. We had to cancel your order.
That's correct. It happens because of multiple reasons. Systems, as I said, don't talk to each other. They don't connect. They don't refresh often enough. And when that happens, and that's typically an operations job that we will do as a part of manual operations and somebody will say, hey, this price was wrong. The promotion has ended and the price is still there. And if the number of orders are less, organizations can say, hey, sorry, I canceled your order because the price was no longer available. But imagine when that happens at the scale of, instead of like 1 in 1,000 orders are like that versus like 500 in 1,000 orders are like that. The organization says, I will not respect that order. Think about the reputation hit that they will take. And that's exactly where a product like Sapient Sustain helps, because then if these mismatches are happening, which is manually identified and corrected, the system can actually be continuously polling, looking at it, and then making a recommendation saying this correction needs to happen. And if you provide the rights, even you can go ahead and do that. In a marketing tech world, what we've done is there used to be a challenge with lead failures for a automobile company. They would have leads coming in, and many a times front end and back end pages won't match because there is a constant change on the content page. And if there is a mismatch for certain fields, the user may fill in the leads for the vehicle, but it will never reach the dealer. It would fall through the cracks. And that can be a substantial, the leads itself is a very costly, to get every lead in an automobile industry is a costly affair. And then if you're getting the lead and then you're not being able to action it, it's further revenue hit. So we were able to identify these and start looking at what kind of corrections can we put in place, or at least highlight the teams to say that, hey, these are the corrections that you need to put in place. We've been able to do that using Sapient Systems. That's another perspective of how it can impact business.
Listen, off camera, I'll give you the name of the company that did it. Very large company. I think to some extent, marketplaces make it even more difficult for some of these online retailers because they're really far removed from pricing. So I can only imagine. But yeah, bad taste. But we have good taste, and I won't say it on the show. But I'll let you know because you should call them. They need your help. So let's go back to Agentic. What else?
The fact that when agents are operating at a very different pace, you need the underlying systems to be able to act in concert to those and being able to connect to those. And that's where systems like Sapient Sustain would come into place, which can then operate at that scale and be able to identify where the issues are. How do you put in corrections and so forth? And this is not just in commerce. It can be applied from commerce to trading, from trading to marketing tech industry. You name the industry, especially when it's front end where your reputation is at stake. You don't want your systems to be lagging, or the experience that you are offering your customers to be lagging, and you want to keep up with the times as they are changing. And that's where technology like Sapient System can help really scale through this. Exciting times. We are looking forward to seeing how we can meet with our customers and help them in their journey of AI adoption, especially at an enterprise scale, which is very critical. Typically, organizations are great. They say we have AI figured out. They run a lot of pilots, but more and more I talk to them, I realize, and I hear that often that, hey, pilots are successful, but when you start connecting two different AI pilots to each other, that's when the challenge comes in. That's where we come in as Sapient, to be able to help, whether it is business transformation, whether it is SDLC transformation, or for that matter, IT operations.
It sounds great. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
And that is what just happened.